Effective pricing models. That's what I want to teach business owners now. Effective pricing models for business owners. I've come to a point where I've seen quite a number of people. The reason you cannot break even and the reason your business will not grow is because you don't have an effective pricing model. Many of you now, if I were to ask you, how are you pricing? Either for services or how are you pricing? Either for products or the things that you sell. You will tell me, oh, I bought at 20 naira and I sold at 30 naira and then I've made profits. Is that actually an effective pricing model? Well, maybe by the time we're done, you'll realize that it may not necessarily be an effective pricing model. And I hope to show you some things that we call pricing models. And in addition to that, you would also see what you should do differently. Number one, your profit is not necessarily the cash on top of your costs. The profit is not necessarily the cash on top of your costs. The question really should be, how do you even determine pricing? And then that would take me to why pricing matters. Please skip to the slide where it says why pricing matters. Pricing defines brand, it defines your value, and it defines your market position. Those are very important. Then the right pricing equals sustainable profits. The right pricing equals what? Sustainable profit. Now, this is exactly why many businesses are not profitable. The wrong pricing equals what? Busy business and empty pocket. Busy what? Business, but empty. Just follow me. You see some calculations. I wish I had a board here, but we'll go on. What are the common pricing mistakes? Guesswork pricing. A lot of people just, okay, I bought it at this amount. Okay, I can sell it at this amount. Or copying competitors without calculation. Your competitor is selling at 500. You say, okay, since my competitor is selling at 500, let me also sell at 500. After all, if I sell at the same price, they can still buy from me. Or let me sell at 480. If I sell at 480, they can still buy from me because they will think it's cheaper. But you see why that it does not work. Then the next one is emotional pricing. Lowering prices out of fear customers will not buy. And trust me, I've been there. Probably all of us have been there. You bring your prices lower just because you think customers will not buy. Guess what? The reason some other people too who can afford the higher price are not buying from you is also because your price is too low. So if you keep lowering prices because customers will not buy, you will be struggling with those who cannot afford to buy it. But when you increase your price as it should be, put it on the right standard, you realize that the prices you were afraid to offer, there are those waiting to pay for it. So you can't do emotional pricing. What are the common pricing mistakes? Again, the next one, ignoring hidden costs. And what are those hidden costs? Rent, utilities, salaries. You are paying people on that business, and you've forgotten that you should factor in their salaries. You should factor in monthly electricity bill. You're actually not making profits. If you are adding a profit margin to what you are selling or what your services, but you don't factor in rent, utilities, salaries, then you don't account for taxes. You don't account for VAT. Of course, everybody, you've heard what is going to happen in January, right? So when they now come for you, you now start paying for it from your pocket. When it's the customer that should be paying for it. That's not a good pricing model. Then failure to review inflation makes old prices obsolete. You're not constant. You're not updating yourself with the market. You don't know what the rates are. You're not updating yourself. It's going to be a big issue for you. So why businesses don't make profits? The price below cost recovery. The amount you're selling at the end of the day does not cover your cost. Let me give you an example instead of all this big grammar. Let's say that you pay rent. What's your monthly electricity like? Average electricity payment here in this axis. Say 30,000 a month. Okay, bear that in mind. Then apart from 30,000 a month, what other things do you pay for in utility? You pay for water. So let's say you pay 5,000 for water. Is that accurate? Or is that feasible? What do you pay for Loma, or you pay for security? Then what else do you pay for? Let's say you have 2 sales attendants, as assumption, each one collecting. You pay for transport. You see, if you don't factor all of these things into your cost pricing, you are not making money at all. You are simply adding a little margin to the value of the product that you bought and you are selling. So what you thought was the profit, at the end of the day, cannot sustain your expenses. So what you're running is charity. And if you don't want to run charity, I hope for your sake you pay attention to the next few slides and then you see how to do proper costing. Then, some people also underestimate their true expenses. Now, I don't want to do big grammar. Please go to factoring costs. Go to the slide that says factoring costs. That's where we begin to show numbers. Factoring costs. Yeah. Look at what you have on the screen. Let me go this way so that we can see it together. The first thing there is rent. Let's say your rent is what? 600,000 on an annual basis. So you divide it into how many parts? 12, because there are 12 months in a year. That gives you what? 50,000 naira monthly. Then the second thing, you pay 40,000 naira, some of you 30,000, on utilities. Now, this 40,000 on utilities covers light, security, Loma, whatever it is that you pay for, everything put together, calculate as utilities, 40,000 monthly. You pay salaries. Let's say your salaries that you pay, including yourself, and you should put yourself in a salary, 200,000 monthly. Now, your total overhead is what? 290,000 naira on a monthly basis. What you now do with this 290,000 is to ask yourself, how many products am I actually going to sell in a month? And how many services am I going to sell in a month? Then you divide this 290,000 over the number of products you're going to sell in a month. Let's go to the next slide so that you see what I'm saying. So if 2,900 units of products, whatever it is that you sell, is sold monthly, you first of all divide 290,000. 290,000. How did we get 290,000? Rent, utilities, salaries, everything, right? On a monthly basis. You divide it by the number of units of products that you're going to sell in a month. So that tells you that your overhead per product is what? 100 naira. Then you now ask yourself, what is the cost of production for that thing that you have produced? Is what? 500 naira. Now it means that you add the 500 naira plus the 100 naira on utilities and salaries. What do you have? 600 naira. Then add 30% margin profit. So that's how you get 780. In other words, if 600 naira is the value of the product, when you look at your cost of production and the utility cost on a monthly basis, now what is 30% of this 600 naira? That's how we come to this. That's how you do costing for products. How many of you have ever done costing for your products like this before? I see a few hands. But if you are not doing it like this, what you are doing is charity. You are just dashing people money. Because if you don't factor all of this into what you are doing before you determine the amount that you charge, what will happen is that whatever you think is your profit, it is from that profit that you end up paying salaries. It is from that profit that you end up paying for utilities. It is from that profit you pay for every other thing. At the end of the day, you now say, we're just working. There is no profit. This thing is not even profitable. Why is this thing like this? It's because you're not factoring in the cost of production, the cost of utilities, the cost of salaries. You are actually putting all of that on your salaries when it's the customer that should be paying for it. And it doesn't matter what you do. This works. Even for services, you ask yourself, what are the things? Take, for example, if you give me a service, one of the ways I also factor in it is, yes, I have a laptop, I have a tablet, I have a phone. You give me a service, I factor in the cost of all of them, break them down. Then your service, divide what the thing has come to on a monthly basis and factor. I also check my cost of production. I factor in wear and tear on my car into your service charge. And I'm also going to do VAT. So somebody says, hey, Joe, that your price is too high. Please, we'll still give you visibility. You come to us. People will come eventually. We're going to work together on a long time. People will know you. Just do this one so that people can see you. Is it visibility that is paying the bills or salaries? So if you allow people to manipulate you with visibility, your business will soon fizzle out or your business will soon become invisible. So reality check. Go to the next slide. Reality check. If price is 650 because customers won't pay more, you lose how much? 130 naira per unit. Meaning that you did not factor in all those other costs on that product. So you need to multiply. Look at what you are losing. This now, I'm showing you this so that you can see what you are actually losing. If you don't want to factor in the cost of utilities, you don't want to factor in that 30% margin. So 2,900 naira, that's what you are losing on a monthly basis. But multiply it. Look at what you get at the end of the day. 377,000. That's what you have lost in 1 month But how did you come to the point of losing 377,000? You should have added a little profit margin or the cost of utility on each product, but you thought, oh, it doesn't matter. But you sold 2,900 units. So the 2,900 units that you should have simply added 130 naira on each one of them. Look at what you have lost, 377,000. So if you are simply looking at the difference in each product and you are not looking at the difference on a monthly basis or on, now please, anybody who is very good at mathematics, multiply 377,000 by 12. I hope I have not scattered somebody's brain. 4 million. So look at where we started from. Where did we start from? 130 naira. 130 naira that you thought is not much. That somebody will blackmail you and say, 130 naira last song. If I come and greet you, won't you give me more than 1,000 naira? And then you are okay, don't worry, you leave 130 naira. It comes to 377,000 in a month, and in a year it comes to how much? 4 million naira. That's how much you are losing on a yearly basis. As an example from this. So just as a quick recap, let me go back. Go back to that previous slide again. Please go to the previous slide so that I can do a quick recap there. The first thing you do is, if 2,000, assumption that you have 2,000 units sold monthly. So your monthly costs, rent, salaries, utilities is what? 290,000. So you take 290,000, divide it by the number of, if you're a tailor, how many clothes do I want to sew in this month? Spread your overhead on a monthly basis on all the clothes you're going to sew in a month. You sell unique products, the same thing. It doesn't matter what you do, it applies. That's how you get the actual amount you should be adding to each product. Then what is your production cost? How much am I going to spend buying materials? How much am I going to spend if you bake? How much am I going to spend buying maybe the plastic that I used to sell, the repackaging, the stickers? How much am I going to spend on oil? How much am I going to spend on veggies? You have to be detailed with all of these things. If not, what you are doing is what? Charity. But you want to break even? This is what you must do. Then add 30% profit margin is actually high. You may not go as high as 30%, but you can do between 10, depending on what you're doing. If it's a service-based industry, you can go as 30% or even higher. But if it is not service-based, if it is product-based, average is usually between 10 to 30%, depending on location again. So I hope this is clear. Let me move on now. Please move on to pricing models. Pricing models. Now, the first pricing model is called cost plus pricing. Cost plus pricing is a simple model where, okay, I bought this thing at so amount, and then I want to fix price. Just add a little to it. That's what cost plus pricing means. You're not really factoring in all the things that you have spent. So that way, you're going to lose money if you follow that model. Then the other one is value-based pricing. This value-based pricing applies to those who are rendering services. Those whose services are not really like physical products. Maybe you teach, maybe you train, you do any other thing. You sing, you talk, you teach, whatever it is that you do that is service-oriented. You know that in value-based businesses, it's how do I put it now? There's no fixed price to it. You are the one that will say, this is the value I bring on board. And if customers see the value, they will pay for it. Then the other one is competition-based pricing. Oh, Chinedu is selling at 20 naira. If Chinedu is selling at 20 naira, then let me sell at 18 naira. I hope you know, especially our mothers. Go to Lagos Island. You'll be shocked at why women are walking all over the place. Go and check the price difference. Sometimes you will be mad. Like, kilo shell. What is this different? You will be annoyed. But because of 2 naira difference, 5 naira difference, 100 naira difference, women will walk all over the market. Then there's dynamic pricing, meaning that it can change, it's not fixed. Maybe weather, maybe some other things can affect the pricing. Then there is tiered pricing. Tiered pricing, I'll give you a quick example of tiered pricing that all of you will probably know. You know that there was a time when Coca-Cola was selling at a product and people were increasing prices of all those Frizzly drinks and all of that. But instead of increasing their price, what they now did was to bring a smaller version out. Then at some point, they now brought out 1 liter. What they are doing is tiered pricing. Instead of changing price for the fixed one and people react in an irrational way, they now give you variations. So they maintain the price that they want to maintain, but they have given you variation, selling at a smaller price and still not losing money. So you can have tiered price in the same product in different packages or different sizes. So if you say you can't afford this one, Oga, please, this one I can't change the cost. There's a smaller one. Go for your size. So that's tiered pricing. Then there's luxury pricing, which explains why the same product in Magodo is not the same price in Agungi or in Lekki Phase 1 or in VI. It explains why the land in mainland, is it different from the land in Lekki? As a matter of fact, if we are to say which one is better, we all know that the land in mainland is better. In fact, that's why they call it mainland. Because that's where the main land is. I used to have an office in Lekki and working with somebody. If you see the water that comes out of their tap, you don't even want to see it. But the value they are placed on the land. Do you understand what we're talking about here? So there's also luxury pricing, which is why, again, when we're comparing cars, I hope you know that, for example, those of you who see people comparing prices online and they're arguing, have you noticed that when they compare cars, it's always Toyota, Honda, BMW, Hyundai they are comparing. They never compare Mercedes with them. Have you wondered why they don't compare Mercedes with them? And if somebody accidentally mentions Mercedes, they never compare Rolls-Royce with them. Because those ones are in a class of their own. So when it's luxury pricing, you are not looking for Bugweru. Do you understand? It's just a few. What you're selling is what? Premium. Then the final one is demographic. Okay, I've talked a bit about it. Demographic or location-based pricing, which is why something will be expensive in one area, but in another area, it's a little cheaper or something. Let me also add, apart from demography or cost, let me also add what we call scale. You can price on the basis of scale, meaning that my own focus is to sell to people. That's what a company like Microsoft is doing. When it came out, it says, I want to have a computer in every home. And it tried as much as possible to make computers affordable, to make computers cheaper. It's because of someone like Bill Gates that almost everybody can carry a computer in his hand. And it is computers that have metamorphosed into the smartphones that we have. But some other people were doing it in those days that it's only multinationals that could afford computers. But he said, my goal is what? Scale. It's the same thing. Dangote's strategy, Dangote's pricing model too, is scale. I want to sell to the mass market. Which is why a daily household item that you will use in your house, there is nothing, check your daily household items. You will find one of them that comes from his company. Because his pricing model is what? Scale. Now, somebody who decides not to focus on scale is selling premium. Where do you use scale? Where do you use premium? You can't be living in Isheri and be using premium. Not that it's not possible, but your market is not here. Because the product will be too expensive. In this axis, your pricing model will be scaling. You focus on getting a lot of people to buy. But if you switch to some other places or you go from here and you go and meet your customer, then you can decide, look, if I want to sew clothes, I'm sorry, I don't sew clothes less than 100,000. You say, I don't do clothes more than 100,000. You can pay or you walk away. That is luxury. You know, it's called market segmentation. You can do that as well. Then, let me skip all of these and go to putting it together. Let me just finalize by go to key takeaways. The reason I'm coming up with this issue of pricing models, you remember several weeks ago, I think it was last year, I did a teaching in advance as well. It was business model canvas. How many of you remember business model canvas? You should go back to it. You should try and check that thing again. Now, if you do the business model canvas and you don't do pricing effectively, you will mess your business up. Pricing goes pari passu with effective bookkeeping. You can't even do pricing well if you don't do bookkeeping. So you need to keep records. Whether it's structured or it's not structured, there are Excel templates, there are notes taking, just something simplified. Keep accurate records. That's where it begins from. You see, this pricing will not be effective if you don't keep records. Some of you now, if I ask you, how much do you spend on a monthly basis for your business? You probably don't have an idea. You now start thinking, this is how much I think. Once you are still thinking, you need to get back to the drawing board. So if that business is going to sustain you, if it's going to be profitable, go and check. How much are you spending? Calculate the cost. I will calculate the cost of my Wi-Fi. I will not pay for Wi-Fi by myself. It's my customers that will pay for my Wi-Fi. It's customers that buy fuel into my car. It's customers that pay for the wear and tear. If I show up, you pay for my presence. You pay for my knowledge in addition. So if it's a service you are rendering, factor, and you are paying for my years of experience, which is why, I'll give you this example. I don't like to mention, I don't usually like to discuss figures, but take, for example, somebody was calling me, has known me for years, and was asking me to come and anchor a corporate event. And because of relationship, I mentioned the figure. She now said, no, now, can't you take 50,000? I said, from where to where? I said, I left that level 15 years ago. I left that level 15 years ago. And recently, earlier in the year, I went to anchor an event. Those are the ones, I've decided those are the things I'll be focusing on. I'm not struggling all over the place. 4 hours, 9 to 1, 500K. I'm done. I'm out of the venue. But somebody is now calling me and saying, because you know me, and then I come and anchor corporate event, 50K. I say, you and who? I say, sorry, sir, could it work? So you get to that level because you have done your pricing right. You have built over the time. You have experience. You can turn some jobs down. Not out of pride, not in an arrogant manner, but you just let them know that you've left that level. Somebody says, it's not pepper. It's not tomato. So anything in that level, please pay attention. Let me quickly take questions from employees who want to ask about career progression or job switching, and business owners who want to ask questions about pricing models. Let's make it quick. I don't know how much time for questions. Okay, sir. Hallelujah.
I know you mentioned tier pricing and luxury pricing. Yes. But during the course of teaching, you refresh my knowledge about this economics. What is it called? Price elasticity of demand and supply. The price elasticity of demand is degree of responsiveness due to small change in price. Small change, maybe 1 naira. When you have commodity that have close substitute, and you are engaging in one of them, and the cost of production is going higher, and you cannot increase price. And if you go ahead to increase price, then the production of the close substitute will take advantage over you. Then what are you going to do?
Tough question. Yeah, okay, just a moment, we'll come to you. Now, one of the things you can do is to then segment your market and begin to look at the possibility of, instead of your pricing currently, one of the models you are still using is scale, meaning that the success of that business largely depends on how many people you are selling to, how many people are buying. You may need to begin to consider the option of luxury pricing. When I say not necessarily luxury pricing, but a segmented market that you're not looking for. Let me ask this question. Let me put it this way. Which one is easier? Sell 1,000 cars in a year, or get one organization to buy 1,000 cars? Actually, for the customer, which one is easier? I mean, for you as the person selling, which one is easier? One organization to buy 1,000 cars. So you may now want to look for groups where there's a higher demand instead of individuals. That is one option. It may not solve the problem entirely, because to even get that one, it will take some time. But that is one option. I don't know if anybody else can contribute to that, but my own alternative would be to then begin to look at somebody else that can buy in bulk, so that I'm not looking for 50 people to buy. I'm looking for one person to buy 50 pieces. Like some years ago, when I used to go for some events, one of the things I would do is, when I produce my books, I'll finish speaking, and then I try to sell. And then I noticed that as I try to sell after I've finished speaking, Somebody will just raise and say, no, don't worry. Maybe one of the organizers. How many copies did you bring? I said, I brought 100. He said, I'll pay for the whole 100. So I changed my strategy. Instead of trying to sell 100 copies of my books, I now focused on selling to the organizations. So the organizations buy and give to their people, and I'm not stressed at all. So that's one strategy.
I think another thing you can do is to consider segmenting your goods into two. So one is scaled, and I give you an example. If you go to top brands, there's something they call high street fashion, and there's also the couture, and then there's the customized. For example, if you go to Michael Kors site now, you will see the outlet. The outlet is general. You now come, they will now show you another one, the real. So they have something like Michael Kors, another Michael Kors. Everything is, but it's segmented. So you can buy a bag at 1,500 USD. The same brand has bag for $150. Go to the one that you can afford. So if, for example, Mola Rich is doing plantain chips, you can now decide the general one is the one that with normal nylon. And then you have some, looking at the two, I don't even need introduction. Once you look at this plantain, look at this one, you just see both packaging, finishing is different. Just choose the one you like. You get what I'm saying? If you also go to all these shops in the UK, when you get there, the shops have cereal, their own brand. Their brand cereal can be £1. You will now see another premium. I mean, like ice cream now. Cold Stone is 2,000. Hans and Rene, 1 scoop, 6.5. Then you now go to the one that, this one that is milk and, what's that one that they carry? Fine yogurt. Or Supreme. It comes to tier. Do you understand? So anyone you find yogurt, then there's the one they use spoon.
So I think the best option really is tiered pricing model. Okay. What Mama? She's been raising her hand. Yes, sir.
Praise God.
Hallelujah.
Okay. I want to ask a question. How to balance it? I run a POS business. So when it comes to 5,000, it's being charged 150. Others are doing 100 naira. And since our president has made it as mandatory that we should do CAC. So from then, they've increased our charges. But telling it to customer that now, since we've done that CAC, they know what we make monthly. Over 5,000 naira, they will charge us 45, and before it was 18 naira. So by ending of the month, maybe the total money you made, that come into your POS, maybe 1 point something. That money, they will calculate it and they will remove their own. So now telling customer that is 150 and seeing other person doing 100 naira, they will be like, kilo let motivation 150. Why your neighbor is doing it for me? So how do we balance that?
So first of all, you're doing a business.
I will not lose customer.
So first of all, you're doing a business that is. Please listen because my time is running out. You're doing a business that is referred to as low marginal cost. It's similar to the oil business. Go and you see people owning filling stations. You think they are making a lot of money. Go and check, they are losing money. Because you know the cost, you know the landing cost. Federal government announces it and all of that. So at the end of the day, they can't put too much. Even you drive your car into a filling station, 5 naira difference. What do? You drive away. You'd rather push your car on the highway than that. So what you can, two things. First of all, I don't have the expertise to effectively answer your question, but I'll recommend you meet with a banker. Here's what my recommendation would be. I think that you should have a POS from different banks, and you will understand why. Hear me out. If you have a POS from different banks, and your customers come, and you ask them, which bank do you use? And you have multiple options. First of all, you minimize interbank charges. You've taken all of that out. So the extra charges that the customer does not want to pay for, which you have to bear because of interbank differences, you've eliminated a bit of that to an extent. So try as much as possible to make sure that, if it's possible, do a few more POS that will cater to the major. Then do a survey. Which bank do people use the most where you are? get the POS of those banks. That will, to an extent, reduce your cost. That's what I can say. But I guess if you meet with bankers, not just any banker actually, those who are in charge of managing, technology and all of that, they can give you more effective counsel. But you need more. Sister, remind me of your name, I'm sorry.
Okay, so my question is, how do you handle or operate scale pricing with a mass market when you have to factor in utilities payments?
Okay, I think that's the basis of what I've been teaching all along. If you are focusing on scale, now scale simply means that you are not adding too much profit to the business because your focus is to sell to as many people as possible. Let me give an example. Let's say that if I bring in 500 books into this auditorium and I have the guarantee that I'm going to sell all 500, I can decide, for example, to sell the books at 1,000 naira each because I know that 500 people will buy. But if I know that all 500 people will not buy, let's say maybe only half of the 500 will buy, then I can say my book is 3,000. So if half of the congregation buys, have I lost money? No, because I've factored in the fewer people buying and I've sold at what I should have sold to the mass market to the fewer people that are buying. Let me say something that's more practical. Do you know why Rolls-Royce does not sell to everybody? How many Toyota do you have to sell to buy one Rolls-Royce? When you are buying one Rolls-Royce at 1 billion, please divide 1 billion by... Do you understand? Do you get the point? So when you are focusing on scale, it's about numbers. So you don't add too much to it. But if you decide that I'm not for everybody, I'm for a few people, then you can say, what I sell is luxury, what I sell is premium. You either bring money or you please excuse me. So scale is about little profit, but you must do the work of getting the numbers. But if you don't want to focus on scale, if it's a few people that you want to focus on, then make sure that what you are selling to is premium, so that what you are charging is justifiable. That's why Rolls-Royce does not sell to... Have you ever seen any Rolls-Royce advert before? Okay. Okay, mommy wants to contribute.
Praise the Lord. What I wanted to say is that anytime you go to a business seminar, listen well. Because some of us, you've not even... Your business hasn't scaled to premium. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
People say you are bringing Vicky James. She's not pursuing you for sewing clothes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get what I'm saying. You must have built that brand to a point where the brand is selling itself.
Yeah.
As in, you look at, there's a distinct, there are things people will see. They will say no. Immediately they look at it, they will tell you this is from here.
Yeah.
It's like people that carry handbag. You say Birkin, they don't advertise. In fact, you have to be on a wait list.
Yeah.
To get it. You can be on a wait list 5 years and they are not asking. So the point is, your business, you must have built it. Someone is cooking food now. Somebody comes to you, say, you don't know how much XYZ. You've not gotten to the level of XYZ. What we're saying is that build, and then you can now begin to, although everything on Instagram and Facebook is premium and luxury, but when we see luxury, we know it's luxury.
Like when I see, for example, when I see TM Lewin shirts, with or without a physical logo, once I see it, I know it. And once you ask how much is it, Bro Feda was raising his hand, please give him mic. Once you see it, they don't beg you to come and buy. You are either willing to buy or you are not. How many more minutes can we take, sir? Okay. Okay, please. Okay, I'm sorry, sir. Please.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Okay, so if I run my business from the house where I live,
yeah,
and the utility, the house rent, that is where let's say I've been living there,
yeah,
and there's an amount I've been paying.
Yeah.
Now I start my business from the house. How do I determine the percentage of those bills that I can put into my business?
Okay.
When the business is not actually increasing my utility?
Okay, so first of all is you factor in, if you are the one paying rent in full, then divide your rent first of all by 12 months. What you pay in electricity, divide by 12 months. Every other thing that you pay, divide by 12 months. Now, the business that you do, if it's physical products or if it's service, how much of it do you sell in a month? Just like I showed here. then spread it on it. You have to first of all come to a conclusion on what your monthly utility is. That is, what am I paying monthly on rent? What am I paying monthly for light? What am I paying for monthly? That directly impacts the business, actually. Because once I say factor everything now, everybody will now say, some people will even factor things that don't concern the business. They will factor it into. So it's only things that directly impact the business on a monthly basis. Calculate those ones. Then divide it by the number of products or the number of things that you sell on a monthly basis. It comes to a very small amount that you can reliably put on the product as your extra expense, in addition to the cost of production. Pastor said I should take that as the final one. Please, I'm sorry. You can meet. Okay, Bro Fedayo. Okay, yeah. So you can meet me. After that, any other person, we can still talk later.
In service-based
business,
where you have to charge people based on service.
Sorry, I'm surprised that 9-to-5ers are not asking questions. Like, you're all good? No. I first of all took your own session earlier now. So even if you don't understand the business part. All right, go ahead, sir.
So, take for example, in a situation where the service you provide has to do with compassion.
Okay.
Where there is a bit of compassion in the service that you provide, that you have to talk to people one-on-one, have sections, and somebody want to render a service, and you already see that this person needs this service. And the parent, let's say, let me give an example. I was introduced to a client recently. The father of the guy, I gave the man a price. Okay, I'll charge this amount for each time I come to see this person. And the man beat the price down by around 70%. Now, when I saw the boy, it was obvious this person needs this service.
So, sorry, let's not take too much time. I think they are blackmailing you. I think they are blackmailing you, and I'll give you this answer. First of all, they are blackmailing you. Then, let me tell you something. I hope you know that. I used to work in an organization registered, and at the end of their name, they have what they call limited by guarantee. Do you know the meaning of limited by guarantee? Meaning that we are registered as a non-profit, but we can still charge. So non-profit organizations are charging. People are charging for. It's because we are in this part of the world where our services are not charged per hour. That's why we are having all this. If you pay house rent on a monthly basis, you won't have eyes. In America, no matter how mad, raving mad a person is, consultants will ask you, deposit money first before I hear you. Lawyers, no matter how serious your case is, you must have a value before lawyer responds to you. You are losing money. Lawyer will first of all tell you, deposit this amount into my account before I even attend to your case. If you don't, it doesn't show up. So please, we need to do away with emotions. You must tell them, this is my rate, and that's what it's going to be. Do you understand?